Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Evie and the Robot podcast, joined by my lovely co host Evie. Today, we are going to be talking about the first series of Doctor Who, but not to be confused with the old Doctor Who show or the one coming out next week.
Not to be confused with season one, which came out in 1963, or season one, which starts in 1 week.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, what we're going to do is it's not going to be this full blown analysis on season one of Doctor Who. It's mainly
Yeah,
not serious.
there's far more qualified people to talk about it and actually go through it. This is just we recently rewatched it. It was the show that really got us bonding, and the show and funny enough, the show that got me thinking, hey, why don't we turn this into a podcast? Because we have such fun banter while watching it. So
Yeah,
yeah, we just And I've Doctor Who pilled robot here because I'm that awesome.
yeah. I didn't really know what to expect going into series one of Doctor Who because beforehand, I'd mentioned to Evie that I'd watched some really old Doctor Who episodes.
Yeah, because on Ecom, I think we were talking about the 60th, I think, and you were watching the stream, I think. And you mentioned that a friend was making you watch all of Classic Who before you could start New Who. And they even mentioned that you would have to listen to all of Big Finish, which would take you so long. I'm fairly certain that the show would end before you even get to New Who.
Yeah, it there was so much to go through. I'm currently still stuck on season 3 of Old Who. I don't think I'm gonna be finishing it anytime soon. I feel like I'm gonna be 50 when I finish Old Who.
Like,
Uh,
there's 25 seasons of Classic Who, like 27-ish seasons.
yeah,
Like you were gonna be there for a while.
exactly. And since most of the seasons are like 40ish episodes up until season 7, which go for the kind of the classic 20ish episodes. I'm just gonna be there for ages. It's like trying to binge One Piece. But the
You know, whereas modern Who is a lot more palatable. It's like it's just it's a much more modern TV show. It was 13 episodes, but it's a lot more palatable. It's not like the classic Who where it's 4 or 5-ish episodes for one story. At most, you get 3 episodes, and even then, that's a rarity.
Yeah, even going into this, I was kind of I was a bit worried since I was like, is this going to be like Old Who, where it's going to be kind of
Well,
boring? Like it's like some episodes are gonna be
well,
kind of boring, and some episodes are just gonna be
well, thing is, so this is something that people have said that even Russell T Davies, the person who brought the show back twice, has said that the show is basic. It has more in common with Buffy the Vampire Slayer than it really does with classic Doctor Who. It's much more. It's very inspired by Buffy. That was the show that young adults were watching and was the sort of action adventure show, and it took a lot more from that and the format of that than it did classic Who because in like in just the 20-ish years between classic Who and new Who, a lot changed with it in the TV landscape.
yeah, exactly. Like the what we qualified as entertainment back in the 80s or 90s uh, has changed drastically, and I think Russell T.V. Davies knew that when trying to reboot Classic Who, because he knew if you tried to do Old Who, like basically the same day in modern TV standards, it probably wouldn't work out as well. We probably wouldn't get as many seasons of Doctor Who, which is quite surprising. So it's when watching through the show, even when you get to kind of the I guess mediocre episodes of the show, uh, it's still a lot of fun. You can tell the difference in quality. You can tell it's night and day, but you can still have a lot of fun with the mediocre episodes and sometimes even the bad episodes of the show. Whereas when it comes to like classic Who, the mediocre episodes are usually the ones where I'm like, okay, let's move this along. We've been doing this for ages now.
Yeah, that's the benefit of having like a writer like Russell T Davies, who I maintain is like one of the best writers working today, and like one of the best writers the show has ever had.
Yeah, if
And like even his bad episodes, which trust me, they can get bad. They can get bad, but like they're at least still fun. Like they at least still have fun characters, and like most of the time, the Doctor is still really well done. Especially when you get to Tennant. Like he can make a bad script just be so fun. But like to him, like addict.
yeah, it exactly like I usually when I watch like a mediocre episode of TV, I'm just like, should I watch another one? But for Doctor Who, any season of Doctor Who, I'm just like, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Let's go to the next one, which is which if you can make a mediocre script into a really fun episode of television, that's a win in my book. Like I doesn't really matter like how bad or mediocre it is. If you can make it a lot of fun where you want to watch the next episode, that's just a win in my book. And I think that's what like mainly kept me invested in Doctor Who, where I was just like, oh, there's a mediocre episode. Like it's still a lot of fun either way. But like some some of the episodes most times some of the episodes won't be like mediocre because they're like kind of I what's the word, kind of like schlocky, I guess, kind of campy.
Yeah.
It'll mostly be like from what I've experienced from Doctor Who so far, which is like I've only experienced the first 3 seasons, and we're currently on season 4. Uh, it'll mostly just be outdated stuff, like
Yeah, like for instance, like the next episode that we're gonna watch, which is the first episode of series 4, it's a lot of it emphasizes around fat people and like the idea of like, and like it's the villain's plan is to like exploit people losing weight is what I'll say, and like an episode in like series 1 kind of has a bit of a has a jab at a character for dating someone who's a bit overweight.
yeah,
Like I think you'll remember that. Like
yeah,
and even in one of the better episodes, the Slovene two-parter, which we'll talk about, that can be read as a bit fatphobic with how like it's
they're
um
basically fart monsters, like with the
yeah, like even they even make a joke about it in Runaway Bride in the 2006 Christmas special, where the Doctor thinks Donna's fiance, where he asks her, he's not a bit overweight with a zipper on his forehead, is he?
yeah,
And
so,
there's a particularly really optically bad thing in episode 2. If you follow me on Twitter, you know exactly what I mean. But we will get to that.
yeah, I we'll get to that very soon because yeah, episode 2 overall is pretty good except for that one thing.
You know, like episode 2, perfectly solid episode. Like that is a fantastic episode, except for the one line which recontextualizes it, and not in a good way.
So I guess we should talk about like
We'll start with episode 1
yeah,
with Rose.
we shouldn't talk about the the second episode
We'll,
just
we'll
yet.
not we'll not talk about out of order. We'll go story by story,
Yeah. So
since there's 2 parts in that and such.
one of the things that really captured the first episode for me was how kind of MTV-ish like the intro of the, like, not the intro of the show but more like the introduction of Rose and everything is. It kind of just reminds me of NTV a lot, where it's like they're going to the mall and everything. They have these like interesting like camera shots and all that. Although I do kind of like how in the mall they kind of like subtly foreshadow the mannequins like where she's just like in a store with like like a shit ton of mannequins, and and then like a few minutes later she gets trapped in the is it like the warehouse basement of
It's
the
the
mall?
basement, yeah.
Yeah, and she runs into Christopher Eccleston, who I gotta say, even though David Tennant kind of blows him out of the water, uh, well, which might be a hot take. I'm not sure. I'm not that well versed in the
I don't
Doctor
know,
Who
like
community.
generally Tennant has more seasons to like prove himself and has a lot more heavy hitting episodes over those three series and the specials. Like that, like in series four, we'll see like this man freaking act,
Oh shit.
but but Eccleston, like for having one series and stepping away respectfully, at least we think so. Like there's a whole can of worms involving behind the scenes of it, but I think the most we can say is early 2000s BBC production. Some shit went down. Like some shit went down, and clearly, Eccleston still holds a bit of a grudge about it. And from what I've heard, I can't say I blame him.
Yeah.
And Russell T Davies, like apparently he was complicit in it. Like, and same with how like he's changed over the years and like become more accepting of shit and like more aware of what he said. I can imagine he's apologized or at least realize that he screwed back then because it was 20 years ago, right? Any people change in 20 years, so
Yeah. Exactly.
that's what we'll say. None of us were there, and the only people who were there don't really want to talk about it. So
Yeah. The only thing
that's what we'll say on it.
I can imagine is just probably a really stressful environment trying to get the first season out because you are rebooting the biggest
Yeah, like
like British like sci-fi show of all time. Pressure is gonna be high.
from what I can gather is that like one of the directors of series one was a dick. Like he was a dick, especially to like the staff and the extras and stuff. And Eccleston's been vocal about how like he was bullied during school and eventually became a bit of a bully, and like he stood up for the cast and when the higher ups at the BBC, which include RTD, they do anything, he just stepped away, which was respectful. But then there was the fact that they put out a fake sort of statement saying that he felt tired, and that effectively blacklisted him from the acting business for years. So
Yeah. I
yeah, the man is the man has been bitter for years, and like that's why it took him so long to like even come back to conventions and Big Finish. Like
yeah. I
the man did not have a great experience, and like the fact is he's even happy to be associated at all with Doctor Who is a downright miracle. I mean, he's never going back to the show now. Like
yeah.
now that it's ran by R2D, he outright. Someone asked him at a convention, like, what would it take for you to come back for the show? And he just said, just sack the entire team.
It'll probably take him like 50 years to even consider coming back.
Like, and not to be ageist, but like Eccleston is like 60 years old, and like R2D is probably gonna stay around for like around 5-ish, 6-ish years, I imagine. So like,
He could come back
I
as
know
like
it's a thing I think about. I'm constantly like hyper aware of like of actors' ages, especially in relation to Doctor Who. You know, when like they constantly play with it. Like we literally watched a short where like they make a joke about how a doctor has aged.
oh yeah, that's right. That it was like a really old doctor, and he's like, "Oh, look at you, look at you, and your little." He had like a little Irish,
Yeah,
like a little, what do you call them? They're like a, I always, they kind of like a, I forget what they're called, but it's kind of cool seeing them interact. I suppose like, if he ever does reconsider coming back, he'd have to play like a really old doctor, maybe even.
maybe. I mean, he was the closest we ever got was he was asked to come back for the 50th. That was when Moffat was in charge, and he read the script, and he said no, and they had to. You'll see, they find a workaround because they find a workaround of how not to do that. He hasn't. Robot hasn't seen the 50th. He doesn't really know about a lot of the twists in that. So I won't spoil, but
Yeah, full.
it just would have been nice if he came back. Like, but you can't blame him for what went down, and you can't blame him for still being angry. Like, it's just a rough bit of the show's history that we just kind of have to accept. But,
Yeah,
but the series itself, practically perfect.
yeah.
Practically perfect with a lot of dated 2000 stuff.
Like from what we get from Christopher Eccleston is really good. Like, seeing him
Like,
as the Doctor is a lot of fun. Um, because like while David Tennant is really charming, Christopher, I think people kind of under like underrate Christopher Eccleston in terms of like charm and everything, because he was like the person who kind of had to sell everyone on the show, because he was playing the Doctor and everything. So I feel like from what I've experienced of Christopher Eccleston and what my experience with him is, uh, I haven't met him in real life, but while watching the show, um, he's just very charming. Like I have very much enjoyed him as the Doctor, uh, especially in the first episode, seeing his dynamic with Rose, and basically kind of exploring his past. That'll kind of be a theme this season where it kind of explores his past a little bit and subtly.
yeah, because the thing is, even with his casting and like the characterization they put on him, it was a big departure for the Doctor. But the Doctor before, like, I think RTD mentioned this in Confidential, but the Doctor was always like the sort of very snooty, high and mighty sort of person, like very genuine. Like he like Eccleston. You imagine as like a very working class sort of Doctor. Like he's from the north. He's wearing a leather jacket. He doesn't really feel like a Time Lord. Whereas, like, if you look at like Tom Baker, Paul McGann, or Dustin McCoy, or especially John Pertwee, they look like a Time Lord. Like they look like they came from a society full of assholes. And
Yeah.
granted England is a society full of assholes, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, like
But but just that's like his general appearance. Like he hasn't got like a very out there haircut like other doctors. He's got like a very short buzz cut. He doesn't wear a velvet coat or a very Victorian outfit. He doesn't have question marks all over him.
he's not the Riddler. He just he just kind of he kind of plays this like almost like action hero outfit that it actually kind of works for what they were going for, because like you said, they're kind of going for like a more Buffy the Vampire Slayer type thing. So the leather coat and everything, the just his appearance in general, that it works. It actually works for what they're trying to do, uh, especially with the storylines. I I would argue that if you took out some of like the more goofier subplots in the first series, it would kind of be a bit depressing, since it's moving on from the Doctor trying to find like finding companionship in Rose, to the the existentialism of the world ending, to the Daleks. It's kind of like an existentialist season where it's just like, oh fuck. Like after the first season, you can't help but just say, holy shit. it
Yeah, like even like I think about like when like looking at like the trailers for season 1 where like it was saying like, oh, I'll take you to millions in London, day of the earth burn in a ball of flames, or the end of, and it was like it's like seeing that stuff. It's the sort of thing that you would like really hit the ground running with the show. Like it's not like a very low key sort of, oh, here's a few small adventures. No, you've got to like really hit with what the show is gonna be, and like you really gotta grab people's attention.
Yeah, and that's definitely what they did. The second series was definitely a lot more comfortable with exploring like a bit of the goofier um like side plots of Doctor Who, like the what's a good example of it? I guess the I I, I don't want to use a Cassandra subplot, but I guess one of them, there's the werewolf episode where they're like trying to basically uh like find out this mystery. It's a very kind of Scooby Doo esque thing. It's a lot of fun,
Yeah,
and
like they figured out the tone of what they wanted to go for in season 2, and especially like season 3 and 4. Like that's like if you want to point to someone what the RTD era is really like, I just pointed to season 3 and 4. Like that's the general tone of like what I most associate with the era. Like season 1, season 2 is like looking at the kinks.
yeah, that it's like season one kind of gives off a like even though it isn't rewatching, like just looking at it as a whole, it kind of feels like a very mature season of television, but also it kind of isn't at the same time. It's it's kind of a
Yeah.
weird thing because it gives off like really mature vibes, and then you watch like the World War III episode, and it's like, oh, fart monsters. It's it's
Mm, like, like especially when you don't have the context of what the wider TV landscape was like at the time. We can easily like when season 1 comes out next week, like we can easily point like towards other TV shows that are out right now and be like, so this is what it's like in comparison to that. But like we don't really have much of an idea of what the general consensus was like back then. So it's just we have to go off what the series is doing and what it's telling us.
yeah, exactly. Like the I really like the like while the first episode does it introduce like the enemies aren't too memorable, I would say, but like it doesn't really matter since they're still kind of a bit of fun. I kind of like the gag of with the mannequin arm, uh, where the doctor was like talking, then gets fucking launched onto his face, and Rose was just kind of ignoring him for a while, and he was trying so hard to be like, "Please get this arm
And,
the
he- and, he- and,
fuck
he- and
off
it's
me."
just like and he's just and he's going like and you can just hear him trying to say like help me please.
Yeah, like there's like despite the enemies being literal mannequins, they still do a lot of like fun stuff with the mannequins. Uh, like
Yeah. Even surprisingly, if I will say, like Christopher Eccleston is a really underrated like physical comedy actor. Like
oh yeah, I don't want to compare him to like Rowan Atkinson, but he kind of does like some like things that kind of remind me of Rowan
like, like
Atkinson.
he like he has a very expressionate face.
Oh
Like
yeah,
he has
definitely.
and even just like because there's a joke later. There's a joke in like was it the World War III episode where like they lock themselves in like a room and and Rose goes, well, how do we get out? And he just goes,
That's a good question. How do we get out? It the like Christopher Eccleston does have a lot of like memorable facial expressions. Like when he like later on the episode when they're like going behind the Ferris wheel, and he's like, where would we find this massive metal disc? Like it has to be it's impossible. We're like where would we find it? And she's like it's like right behind you. And he's like, where? It's
he's looking behind him like, oh,
oh
what was it? What?
oh fantastic. And then he just fucking like they sprint away. It's like it's stuff like that that really kind of sells Christopher Eccleston as like the Doctor for me, because without those like silly
Because
little moments, it, he'd probably like not be as memorable because he does so much goofy shit.
because because all the trailers and all the posters have him like very serious, like he's very brooding. Because this was for 2000. It's when Batman was brooding and James Bond was brooding. It's when Superman was brooding. Like everyone was brooding and dark and gritty. And
Even
like, granted, but Doctor Who did it, but like, it didn't forget he's also a funny, comedic, goofy person and like a really quirky guy. So he's
yeah,
not gonna suddenly stop being that because he's a bit sad.
yeah, exactly. I, I mean, it got even more like serious in like the 2010s, where it's just like,
Oh yeah, like when Capaldi gets involved, he broods even more.
yeah, and like just 2010 media was super broody at the time as well. Like the super like Man of Steel, like even more so with superhero media and James Bond and etc. It was all so broody, but
Yeah, whereas like the 2020s are now like, we just went for a freaking pandemic. We gotta be happy.
yeah, like there's like I remember like a couple of movies coming out in 2020 where they were kind of like depressing, and I remember a lot of the reviews are like, I kind of hate this because it's pretty sad. So I kind of like how New Who, as it's being called now, um,
Yeah,
is
like, and the Superman comparison, but like it's neither like in like the 2000s and the 2010s, like it was very much dark and brooding. Same with Doctor Who and Superman. Like in the 2020s, it's like it's gonna be back to like very chipper and very heartwarming and stuff with both Superman and
yeah.
Doctor Who. So it's like, and I mentioned Superman because earlier today I finished Superman Noah season 3, which is very good. Watch it, please. Season 4 is coming out later. Please watch it. Anyway.
Yeah, Superman. I I could never get into his character. Like I said before, but like this year seems to kind of be the year of Superman for me, since I'll be watching like Superman and Lois, and then I'll be watching the animated series for Superman, and then later on we'll be getting Superman Legacy. Not this year, but probably in like a year or two time.
Next year it's for 2025, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God,
But
it's
yeah, I just wanted to mention that because actually watching Superman Lois, I basically sort of realized like Superman is basically just the Doctor. Like he
yeah he
like he's the good in everything. He's like just this person you can always rely on and just he's super kind. Like like one of Capaldi's most famous lines and one of his last lines is always try to be nice but never fail to be kind.
it's it's quite like interesting, the Doctor's character, because he's been through so much shit. He has been through a lot, and he still manages to be like this kind of chipper and like kind of sassy guy. When when you look at his backstory, you're like, holy fuck! This I don't know how this man
Yeah.
even manages to be a bit
Yeah, like
happy.
if, you look at Shooty being like all like smooth and charming and like really bubbly and stuff, and like that's really good for a Doctor. But then you look at like just look at New Who alone. Just look at like the past 3 Doctors alone, and you'll be like, oh, you poor man.
Yeah,
Like it's like the bit in you haven't seen Days of Future Past, right?
I have not, but I don't mind getting like a
Well,
little bit
there's a
spoilers.
bit where young Charles, James McAvoy's Charles, like reads the mind of Logan, who was sent back in time, and he reads his mind and like sees all his memories, and all he has is just you poor man. Like that's what I imagine the Doctor is like. Just anyone who looks at like or any of his history is just like, oh, how are you? How have you not killed yourself?
It's kind of like in Guardians 2 with like Mantis, like feeling Drax when they're like sitting on that horizon, and
Oh
he
yeah,
just
and like he's like all composed, and like she feels him, and she's just so overwhelmed with emotion, just instantly bursts into tears.
yeah, the brilliant character writing in in Guardians 2, and especially like with Christopher Eccleston this, because you notice that like there are a lot of parts that he's just like really like he's really sad. Like in the second episode, he's reminded of his world getting destroyed, um especially uh by the
Like
tree woman. I forgot what her name is.
Um,
I think it was Jade or
I
something.
forgot why. I forgot what her name is because you kept on saying you'd smash her when we watched it.
To be fair, she was a very attractive tree woman. Like
You
the
said it for every character in the series, including the slabs.
er, to be fair, I'm very inclusive as a person. If there's
You're not inclusive. You're not inclusive. You're just bisexual.
it like I kind of enjoy the dynamic that both of them have, Rose and the tree woman that I forgot the name of, so like uh but because like she's just like I've like looked up like your species and everything, and it's like all gone in a way. You can I you can kind of tell that the way he's acting is kind of a way to mask all of his emotions, because he's just like he just like when his home planet is mentioned, he is like instantly depressed. He becomes like he looks like that
Yeah.
that meme where the fucking soldier is looking into the camera and just like looks fucking shell shocked face.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, like
It,
I guess should like we'll mention it like for people who don't haven't seen it, but like well, haven't seen it. If you're only watching this if you've seen the show, but like the whole idea of the Time War and destroying Gallifrey as like the clean break for the show was like such a genius freaking move. Like it gave the show like its own original hook, like its own original sort of baggage that you could understand just from watching this show without needing to understand the previous show.
the way it references the Time War and what happened between him and the Daleks, it's all like cleanly explained in the first series, and even the second and third series. They kind of they go into a bit more depth about it, but
And like they bring more and more into it. Like you see the Daleks pop up more. You see eventually you see other Time Lords show up, and you see the Doctor's view go from oh my planet's gone and being like sad that it's gone to eventually being like having very rose tinted glasses for like when he looks back on it like in a beautiful beautiful scene in Gridlock when like he talks about how the crimson sky and the snow covered mountains, the
uh,
scene in the series in uh, Sound of Drums when like you actually see Gallifrey and you hear that beautiful music by Murray Gould, the track "This Is Gallifrey," which is like one of his best tracks. Like that is just, and then when like eventually in like later in the specials when the idea of Gallifrey somehow potentially returning, he is like shit. What do I do? Like, because like, we find out that the Time Lords, well, I don't want to say suppose, but like the Time Lords were not good people. Like they were not good people, and like eventually you see that rose tinted view he has of the past eventually slowly fade away when like the realization that oh the Time Lords are back, and that's not a good thing.
yeah, I mean I mean it kind of shows that with like the Joker-esque villain of season 3, um where like one of the Time Lords is back. Like he's just returned, but in a way that actually makes sense. Instead of like a Rise of Skywalker kind of way, where it's like he's just back. We won't explain how. It
Yeah, like they actually set it up, and they don't just do it like in an obvious way. They use something that was used an entirely separate story to help build to another story, and it isn't even like the overarching story. Like there's a whole other overarching setup for it.
that's why like I kind of don't like the people who are like, oh, skip like these episodes, because they're like filler episodes. Like even the
Yeah,
people who say skip series 1, I'm like, why? Just why?
yeah,
That's
like it's a very common thing in the Doctor Who fandom when introducing someone new to the show is don't skip nine. Like
yeah.
don't skip nine. Like he is a key part of the story, and he Friends always will be. Like this series, like for one, like every episode matters. Like every episode matters, and every episode has a key part to play, both in the show going forward and just the series as a whole. Like, originally, like they filmed like a separate ending, which was like if the show never got picked up or if Eccleston didn't leave, like that sort of thing. And it wasn't like a totally different ending. It was just like a small cliffhanger and such. Like if we didn't get a series two and it was just this series, like yeah, we wouldn't be here because I wouldn't be a Doctor Who fan, but it would still be a perfectly solid series of television. Like it is that sort of well put together.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it only ended with series one, I'd still be completely satisfied with the results we got because there are so many good episodes. Like even like I think the one of the more memorable episodes, like the memorable quote unquote filler episodes for me, even though like I don't like using the term filler because most of the time it's like
Like it's Doctor Who has a very complicated relationship with like filler episodes because not every episode contributes to an overarching story or contribute or really Doctor Who has both filler episodes and it doesn't. Like the sometimes they're filler episodes, while at the same time they're not. It's
yeah
it's not a black and white situation. What I'm saying.
yeah it's exactly like the the how do I describe like I, I yeah just like this calling Doctor Who episodes filler, it's just like you're kind of right and you're kind of wrong at the same time. It's like yes but also no, because like some of these like quote unquote filler episodes you won't even know will be part of the story until later on. Like one of the key elements of season one is like Bad Wolf, and you won't even know
Yeah.
it's a thing unless
Like
you notice the subtle like
they
references.
only really start like it only really starts like hitting you like this is gonna be important until like episode three, when like um what's her name Gwyneth Gwyneth like she can see the future and shit, and like she like sees into Rose's future and says the big bad wolf,
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
each episode is building to something. Each episode is an important piece in a 13 episode puzzle.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've talked a lot about Rose, but we haven't actually talked about Rose. But we should probably talk about Rose now.
Oh yeah, that's true. I think Rose is like a perfectly like a solid companion to start the show with, especially since she's like your average teenage girl. I'm assuming she's not teenage. She's kind of an adult, but
She says she's 19.
yeah. So
I think in series two she said she was 19 at the time, but
so kind of teenage.
around 19,
Yeah,
kind of teenagers, like
yeah.
out of college and that. Like,
Mm.
well, relatable to most people. Can in the end of the first episode, anniversary of it, she says like no job, no future, no A levels, and I was like, just like she's just like me for real, for real.
Yeah, I think that also what makes her that's also what makes her character kind of interesting because it's she gets kind of sucked in by the Doctor, not because like she's got like responsibilities going on. It's because like she's trying to look for some sort of adventure, some kind of meaning in her life, and she just
You know, like especially in the finale where like she goes on where like seen she's seen things. It makes me think of Roy Batty's monologue in Burn Where like seeing things you people wouldn't believe, and it's like she's the only one who's seen them, and like is she supposed to like just go back to working in a shop and just having the boring day-to-day cycle of life afterwards?
yeah, that's
Like,
that's kind of how like the Doctor affects people in ways because yeah, like you don't really know what to do in your life, so you go with the Doctor, and then like after seeing everything, you're just like, how am I supposed to go back to regular life after seeing all these incredible things after just experiencing all these things and just going back to a regular job where you work at like I don't know, grocery store or something. It's just like it's kind of like
Yeah, like it's like, well, for one, like the companion, like from New Who onwards, is meant to be like an audience, and like the Doctor is sort of like, I guess, an embodiment of like Doctor Who as a whole. Like it's the escapism to like mediocre life and that. Like it's something to at least give you something when like your life isn't very special. Not to say every Doctor Who fan's life isn't special, but like a lot of us feel like we're not doing anything. I mean, for God's sake, I'm job hunting and not in a very good place at the moment, so like I can relate. And like Doctor Who is like my North Star in a sense. Like it's
yeah,
like you can sort of see like the Doctor as like, and I guess like some way of seeing it as that.
yeah, exactly. It perfectly represents like an escape, uh, but it also goes to some pretty like fucked up places at times, especially like the Doctor Who really likes tackling themes of like existentialism, especially like in parts of series 2, where he's going down to the depths and like it's
Oh yeah, yeah, the Satan bit too bad. We'll talk
yeah,
about that
yeah,
in when we get to series two. But like Doctor Who goes to some dark places. Like even as far as recently, like in the 60th specials for Wild Blue Yonder, it literally goes to the edge of the universe and like where like you are surrounded by nothing, literally nothing, and like the idea of being so far out and so alone and like the crippling existentialism and the isolation is like Jesus Christ.
yeah, and it's like after their first adventure, like she, the Doctor's like, where do you want to go? Like the end of the world. Let's go to the end of the world, and
You know, like she doesn't even pick it. Like he picks it for her, and he's like, I think like she like he like suggests something, and she goes, surprise me, and then he's like, welcome to the end of the world,
yeah,
and like thanks.
it's like an extremely overwhelming thing, where like your first adventure with the Doctor is seeing how your world ends and where everyone you know and love is now dead. Like it's it's kind of an overwhelming thing, and it's shown throughout the second episode as she's like really overwhelmed, and she doesn't really know what to do, and when she calls her mom and
This is
everything.
this this isn't like the first time like they've tackled the sort of idea of like being at the end of the world. There's an episode in series 7 when like they go to like far in the future. Companion like it's for like a different case, and like he needs to like go to Earth when like it's all boiled over and stuff, and the companion asks, "Is my grave out there?" And like and if she's dead to him, like not so much dead like not so much dead like, oh, you're dead to me, but as in like literally she has always been dead to him, and like he's like either from the past or the future, because like we never know when the Doctor is from in relation to like human history. Like we don't know if the Time War, for instance, happened in the future for us or like in the past for us. It's a very timeless sort of thing,
Yeah,
and and that turn of phrase will haunt us in a few series to come.
yeah, a whole lot of shit like comes to pass later on in the show, like stuff that I didn't even think would happen comes up way later in the show. Well, I say way later in the show, but I'm only on season 4. But it's really interesting seeing how Rose reacts to this environment, because she calls her mother, and then she rings Jackie up, and Jackie's like, "Where's my compensation?" And then she hangs up, and
Yeah, that was our running joke for the entire series. Was that Jackie is just pestering about her compensation for that one accident in
yeah,
episode 1.
we found it so funny that every single episode when Jackie shows up, we just imagine her pestering anyone about compensation. Uh, to be fair,
And
to be
he pays off in the second series.
Yeah, they do pay it off. It was I did joke about like how I would find it like really funny if they actually gave her compensation as the series 2 finale, and they did it, and I'm so happy that they did. It was like one of the best
and
payoffs.
and like she spends the first episode going like, oh, just get some compensation, and in the fin and like in her like final appearance so far, she's rich.
Yeah, she's fucking loaded. She got her compensation. That was probably like one of the happiest moments of Doctor Who, and it wasn't even set up. It was it was just a
It
running
was,
joke we made.
I'm like, RTT is like a master at setting shit up, but I guarantee you he did not plan that.
He's like a doctor. He like time travel, and he's like, that's actually good running joke.
But he was listening, on our Discord call, and he just went back in time. He wrote the series.
He was like, damn, that's really good. That's I need to use that. So made, made Jackie have compensation way later on in the show, which to
Yeah.
to be fair, like, uh, that to be fair, that's mostly how I remember Jackie. In in the first like 2 series of Doctor Who, I don't really remember her as anything else other than the lady who wants compensation. Although there is like characterization for her, like they they don't have like a dad anymore because the dad kind of he kind of died. He which gets explored later on in the first series, where like Rose goes back, like causes a paradox, and basically actually she causes kind of a few paradoxes, like especially with touching her child, like touching her no, that's not a good way of explaining it.
She touches herself as a baby. Like, she touches her past self.
Yeah, let's just go with that. She she yeah, where she interacts with her like baby self, and it just fucks shit up even more. It's a very interesting thing, but the the main thing I remember Jackie for is just compensation. And then there's Mickey. I think it's Mickey, unless that's the
Yeah, Mickey.
yeah.
You unironically thought his name was Ricky for a bit.
I completely forgot about it. Yeah, his name Little
Yeah,
Ricky.
like so did the doctor, but
Yeah,
yeah, Mickey's an interesting one because, like, well, unfortunately, because of the actor, well, he's the first ever black companion.
yeah,
Like, not full time, that would be Martha, but like in terms of like traveled in the TARDIS for for more than a few episodes, Mickey's that guy, and
he,
he,
he kind of gets
he's
fucked over a bit.
yeah, he really gets fucked over. I get the arc of what the Doctor was doing. Like I get it. Like he doesn't really like Mickey. He like finds him annoying, and like eventually over the series, even just by like over the course of like Eccleston's arc, like his sort of arc with Mickey has learned to like really respect him instead of just constantly going like, "Oh, you were born in the dark."
Like I can even get from like Rose's arc, which is like her like she's stuck in this boring life, boring boyfriend. No offense, Ricky, but boring life, and then she finds the doctor. She goes on all these wacky adventures, but she kind of like forgets the at times the little things back at home, where which is why she kind of cheats on Mickey a couple times throughout the first series with
Yeah, like she casually cheats on Mickey. Well, I wouldn't say they have a kiss, but like emotions, I guess.
yeah
Mickey with Captain Jack Harkness.
yeah Captain Jack Harkness especially. That
Otherwise, and as Robert has put it for the past three series, knock off Tom Cruise.
oh yeah, he's like he looks so much like Tom Cruise though.
He really doesn't. I don't know where you see it. Like he doesn't look like Tom Cruise.
he he kind of looks like an early, but it's I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like seeing early years Tom Cruise and late years Tom Cruise just mixed together. and into one, and
Eh, I get you. I get you. Mm. But
it's so every time he would appear, I just either make a Mission Impossible reference or say, "Hey, it's Tom Cruise." Like when he was like, there's this really integral scene where he had to run and everything, and I was like, why? I guess he hasn't got his Mission Impossible run yet. Like he's just he, J- Jack Harkness is I I got to admit I'd probably like this show Torchwood a lot. Probably because of me making my own fun with the character of Captain Jack Harkness, which is just
yeah, like we haven't seen Torchwood or all the Sarah Jane Adventures. Like you don't need to watch them to understand the main show, but like Sarah Jane Adventures, I've heard is good, despite unfortunately being mostly written by Gareth Roberts, who's a piece of shit. But
yeah,
Torchwood also is. The first series is just
Attack of the Cyberwomen.
so. No, it's painfully 2000s cringe, like painfully edgy 2000s cringe.
It's kind of
Like
like
you think 2010s edgy cringe is bad? Imagine 2000s edgy cringe.
it's kind of like like edgy's like 2000s and edgy 2010 cringe just kind of reminds me of the CW a bit, where it's like the first
It does feel very CW. Like it does feel like Torchwood in particular does feel very CW.
especially
Like
like comparing it to like the first season, like Arrow for example, like there's a lot of like sex scenes with fucking like radioactive playing in the back. It's so fucking like
funny you fucking say that because John Barrowman was in Arrow.
that's true. Oh my god, I only went to Arrow because for a majority of my childhood, Arrow was like the thing I was obsessed with, which is tragic. It's it's quite tragic that that was the thing I was obsessed with, especially since how shit it went very quickly. But the the whole thing with Torchwood, it's I haven't seen it yet. I've been meaning to see it, but I always put it off because I'm like,
Mm, I, like I've only seen like 2 or 3-ish episodes, and even then the third one was just for video writing the script, and even that I don't think I'm gonna finish the script. But but even that one episode was bad. And I only watched it because it was painfully transphobic and for no real reason.
oh,
Like in like the episode Greeks bearing gifts, Jack just goes on this tirade about how he doesn't trust people because a friend of his came out as trans, and that's why he doesn't trust people. He says that's why he doesn't trust when someone acts out of character because his friend Vincent started acting a little strange, like, because before he was a very lads lad, and like the beard, talking about girls and cars, and then he goes back for a few days, for a few months, then he comes back, and now we've got to call him Vanessa, and that's why he
ooh,
doesn't trust. That episode is just so shit. Like, it even somehow manages to do the turf idea of in in like 1,000 years, people will dig up your bones and think you're a man. It even does that. Like, there's a
oh
bit where
my,
like they dig up the bones of like I think it's like a 1700s officer, and they think it's a woman, and they find out it's a man, and they say it's a man, a very girly man.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
but still a man,
Y-
and it's like Jesus. That's like and like the writer told me what I was. That isn't the first time he's wrote something transphobic for a show, because he, ironically, in one of the best Series 7 episodes, he writes a joke about how a whore wants to call himself Susan and wants his owner to respect his life choices.
j- I, all I will say for that is Captain Jack will be
Is that
very good on Twitter. He'd be very.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Well,
guess.
unfortunately, he is, and he's not great.
Oh wait, the actor for Captain Jack's on Twitter.
Yeah, and he blocks it. He blocks anyone who criticizes him.
Oh no, Tom Cruise. No,
Like
that's
I've told you, John Barrowman is kind of is kind of really a wrong. Like I mentioned the allegations about Series 1, he was kind of part of it
oh, Captain
because he
Jack.
would. I've already told you this. Like he would flash people all the time.
That's
Just,
right.
just
Oh my god.
he would just have his dick out just at any random point as a laugh.
Oh, Tom Cruise. That's that's no way to do it. The,
Like when even when like this, this era like ended, like there was a little song where like David Tennant and Catherine Tate and John Barrowman all got together to like sing like the ballad of Julian Russell. And there's a line where there's a line I can't block out images of Johnny B getting his cock out.
oh no.
So like they knew it was going on, and like got reprimanded for it, but it still happened. And I'm fairly certain even Eccleston doesn't like him because there was an Instagram on one of his posts where um someone commented something to do with like Captain Jack Harkness and like something like I hope you get to meet again. Oh not and Eccleston went not that bastard.
yeah, yeah. It.
But yeah, John Barrett's not a woman, but however, it's like same with Noel Clark, who also unfortunately has a whole heaping lot of allegations against him concerning sexual harassment, which is not good. It's a case of great character, actor's a piece of shit. So yeah,
Yeah, I think
I
like
figured we had to mention it.
yeah. I guess also like Mickey's. From what you've told me, I think Mickey's actor was a bit like
Yeah,
like
no Clark.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. It's like I guess that serves as kind of a good transition to the problem of the second episode. Well, I don't know if it's a good
Yeah,
transition.
the
Well, no,
funny, funny.
no. Oh fuck! I didn't realize. no, I mean, not really a good like, tra- like
Well,
how
with the episode, even without the trans thing, it's still not a good transition because
yeah like
blanket.
yeah it's Cassandra. I guess we should talk about the big
Yeah,
skin in the room.
the-
Uh,
yeah. In episode 2, there's a character called Cassandra, Lady Cassandra. Who the episode's all about as the last human to live on Earth, and she's not doesn't look human because she's a flab of skin stretched across with a face on it and a brain in a jar. And it's like that's how long she's lived because this episode takes place in like the year 5 billion.
yeah, exact.
Uh, Yeah, the year 5 billion. Yeah, the year 5 billion, and like the Earth is about to burn, and they throw in a casual line that she lived down there on Earth as a little boy,
Mm.
so that canonically makes her trans,
And
which is not good considering. Well, for one, she's the villain of the episode. They make her a eugenicist who is like, I'm a purebred, and not all those people who intermingled with other species. So she's kind of a Nazi,
yeah,
and also like she murders a lot of people, like a lot, by burning down the sun dampeners.
yeah, and Rose calls her, "You're not even human."
And yeah,
That-
yeah, like the episode goes to a lot of lengths to basically say, "Oh, you're not human. This 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 teenage blonde girl is more human than you." It's like,
it's definitely
yikes.
a weird, like, like they had like it's a really weird way of introducing a first like trans character,
Like
especially.
they could have gotten away with it. They could have gotten away with it if it was a case of she was lying. Like the episode does so make a point to say like she over exaggerates or like human terms are kind of lost. They think a jukebox is an iPod, and they think a mournful ballad is "Toxic" by Britney Spears.
Oh, that's right. They play like a lot of classic. Here's a classical music, and it's fucking toxic by Britney Spears. So
Yeah, and like they could have gone away with it if it was that. If it was like, I don't know, like the joke in the Abrams Star Trek films where they think the Beastie Boys are classical music, like if it's that sort of thing. But in like a collection guide, which was it was like all the villains, they straight up put her dead name in it and say that she was born as a boy.
oh, so
And even as far as like last yearish, when like the Doctor Who website like did like their pride thing of like a lot of showcasing a lot of characters, they included Cassandra.
oh no.
So as far as last year, she's canonically and officially the show's first trans character.
Yeah, so it
Yeah,
not great, not great. So like especially like Mickey being introduced just to be like cheated on, and now it's like the first trans character getting introduced is
yeah.
basically a Nazi.
It's like if these characters I don't know how to put this. If these characters were white, then it feels like they wrote them without thinking of like the optic. You know, like
Yeah,
for instance, like heavily disrespecting the first black companion and treating him like shit.
it's
Like not to say black characters can't be treated like shit. Like
yeah,
like like you can do any role, but like when it's the first one and it's you gotta like hit the ground running, you can't really pull this shit. You know.
yeah, especially for like your early 2000s when like you like Doctor Who has been always known as kind of like a progressive show.
Yeah, like there's a third Doctor story with a creature called um Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri. He was a and canonically their pronouns are like they them and it. And there's a scene where Joel the companion is like oh where is joking like oh is she a he and the Doctor goes no he isn't it and it's like the doctor supports pronouns
Yeah,
and this was like 1972 I think.
yeah. So like the Doctor Who has always been like an extremely progressive show, which is kind of why I kind of laugh at people like, oh, they made Doctor Who woke now. They made it woke, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. You haven't seen the show.
It's like
You silly Billy. You
it's
haven't seen
like
the show.
it still does like bits that are dated. For instance, Tomb of Five Men, which is like a classic story, still does the sort of mindless person of color brute sort of trope. It does
Yeah,
that. It's dated, but like a lot of instances in like the past 60 years, like prior to New Who, it was still fairly progressive. Like there's an episode. Famously, there was an episode in the '80s, Happiness Patrol, which was very much like critiquing Thatcher's government.
yeah, exactly. Like Doctor Who and Star Trek are mainly known for their progressive. So the fact that like the first trans character in the reboot is just like, is
Is a villain and seen as not human. Well, it's not that it's not human. It's just the characters, like the audience surrogate, constantly says, you're not human. I'm human." It's like
yeah,
I don't think you quite. I don't think you thought that one through, Rusty.
it's definitely a thing in like it's definitely like it reminds me of that plot line from season 2 series 2 where like this boy is getting abused by his father and
Yeah, and at the end, the dad is a piece of shit. Like like at one point he threatens to beat his son if he comes out as gay.
yeah
The son
it's
isn't gay, but like if the son is gay, he will beat it out of him. Like he is a cunt,
like
like a capital cunt.
yeah like throughout the episode
And
he's been showing like even like the doctor is like he's kind of a piece of shit but late
and like like the big emotional catharsis of the episode is when the wife kicks. Like it's like that's like the moment where like it's like yeah, you stand up for yourself, yeah. And then in the final minute, Rose goes and like Rose sees like his dad walking down the case, and it's like he tells the son to go to him, and the son is like, why? And she says, because he's your dad, and
Yeah,
something like that. And it's like, I get it because she has a major daddy issue. You know, like her dad died when she and like she never got any time with him. So
but
like of course she's gonna see someone whose dad is walking out and like it's like spend all the time you can with them. But it's like it's in character for her, but also just yikes. And I'm thankfully Mark Gatiss, the writer of it, has said that was a bad choice on his part.
it's yeah, it just kind of reminds me of that. Like, I can see where you're going with it in some parts, but the way you executed it, a bit stinky, but it's a bit no, um, but like ignoring if you would like if the Cassandra bit didn't exist, it's a really solid episode of Doctor Who. Like the way it explores that like going back to that theme of existentialism and just if the world's going to end in this many years and all these people are dead and she's having to like process all of that. It's such an interesting episode to like think about, and then sometimes it will just have parts of just transphobia. So it
You know, like it's I'm not gonna say it's a mixed bag. It is a good episode. Like it's well written. It's got all the good. It's a solid episode. It's just that one bit, that one line,
mm,
really dampens it. It makes it really poorly aged. You could probably cut it out for God's sake,
yeah,
and it would be fine. You could just cut it out or something, and it'd be fine. But like, yeah, and what makes it more ironic, it aired on my birthday.
oh fuck, oh no, oh
I mean, granted, I don't think I was watching one. I don't really have any series two because I was of series one because I was two. But yeah, talk about irony.
yeah, the Jesus Christ, I I I yeah, I guess like another thing that hasn't been aged well is with the Celine. I can't the Celith
Slivine.
fuck the yeah them
Slivine.
the Slivine them yeah
Yeah.
yeah the Slivine in the third episode where it's I mean it's a bit less offensive than the second episode, but it's like there's still mention. Should we cover episode 3 and 4 at the same time because they're kind of like interconnected?
Let's be fair, like, this is four and five. Episode three is the Charles Dickens one.
Oh fuck, we completely missed. Oh, I I kind of
I
forgot
mean,
about
to
the
be fair, like, in terms of episodes of like series one, it's probably like one of the more
forgettable ones.
unremarkable. Like it's the
Yeah,
most forgettable, to be perfectly honest.
I remember because I have notes written down about this episode and I still kind of forgot about. I still kind of skipped over it. Um, I suppose like the things we could mention. For
Um,
first time in the reboot that he teams up with a historical figure, Charles Dickens.
yeah, like this sets the formula for like what historicals are for the most part. For like
Yeah,
each episode, like each series has like a historical with a famous sort of mostly a famous writer, to be perfectly honest. Like
yeah,
series one, Charles Dickens. Series two, it's Queen Victoria, I think. Yeah, it's Queen Victoria
yeah, yeah.
in series two. Series three, it's Shakespeare, and series four, I won't give away. But the historical figure was actually mentioned in series three, if you pay attention.
Yeah, I kind of laugh. It's like it's the historical ones have sometimes been a bit shaky, especially with like uh the Shakespeare and being like,
Yeah, because two of them, well, actually, yeah, two of them, the Shakespeare one and the one next series are both written by Gareth Roberts,
yeah,
aka King of the Turf.
yeah, who's like good old J.K. Rowling
That line's actually really come back round because she's just praised his book
and oh my
on her
god.
Twitter. She's actually just started praising his book about living as a gay man in a world that has to accept trans people, and she's like, bravo, Mr. So it's like full circle moment.
What this is, it's crazy how Doctor Who shit kind of comes full circle because with like there'll be like actors like Andrew Garfield in it, and you're like, that's Spider Man, you're Spider Man, and he's putting on this fake ass accent and everything. It's like, wow, it Doctor Who is kind of like what the internet presents The Simpsons as, is like it kind of predicts the future in some ways,
Yeah,
unintentionally.
it actually gets way better because later in the series, which like the specials, there's a random special which features yet another Spider-Man actor, and actually, funny enough, a freaking Oscar winner.
Mm. I wonder who
Like
that could be.
you'll know him when you see him. I won't say who it is. I've made a tweet about it, so don't go searching. But
Yeah.
it's actually technically has three Spider-Man actors in it because Neil Patrick Harris was just. Oh,
That's true. Oh my god. Oh wow.
but granted, that was afterwards. That was like 20 years after he
Yeah.
voiced Spider-Man. But
Uh,
still, that's three Spider-Man actors, and
yeah.
even Tom Holland is like a big fan of the show. Like famously, him saying, "I don't want to go in Infinity," inspired by the Doctor.
Yeah. It would kind of be cool to see him in Doctor Who a little bit because Tom
And
Holland, he can
and
act.
like yeah, like he can act. He's a good actor, but he's just stuck being Spider-Man and totally not Nathan Drake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he picks his he needs to fire his agent. He gets
yeah. He cannot pick a good agent. Like he needs his girlfriend's agent.
I was about to say he needs to get Zendaya's agent because she has been in so much good shit recently. Like
She was just in Doom for God's sake.
yeah, I
Doom. And what's he done? The film for Russo brothers where they stick a camera up his arse?
yeah, wasn't that one film? I forgot that one film where he was in, but it was this
It was
weird ass film.
it was Cherry, I think it was called or something, and there was the
Oh,
film where he did with Robert Pattinson, the Netflix film where
there's
I
also
don't know, but like his filmography is just weird.
yeah, Chaos Walking is the one I'm thinking about, where
Oh yeah,
it's that one that barely got fucking like it's so weird. The
yeah,
Devil
and
All the
like
Time is like all right, but I will give him credit. He is with Robert Pattinson in this one, so it kind of like helps. But then immediately
yeah,
after, he's just kind of
yeah, and then I'm still not gonna forgive him for Uncharted. Like I haven't seen it yet because I'm gonna play Lost Legacy and then get to it. Like I need to like my Uncharted hyperfixation comes and goes, you know. Like I'll do it eventually because I'm putting it off because I've not heard good things about that film.
don't watch
And
it. I've seen it. It's not good.
yeah, but and there was also his pitch as a young James Bond,
Yeah.
where he said you wouldn't know it was a James Bond film until he was like given the code name at the very last minute. And it's like, Tom, I love you. I would totally rail you, but you're not a writer. Just no.
He
Just no.
he does kind of like to give like pitches for movies, and it sounds like some shit like someone would come up with when they've like had like three bong rips, and they're just like, what if we
Yeah, it's like what if they made a Bond film where he didn't know it was James Bond until the last minute. basically doing Casino Royale, except you don't know it's Bond for the whole time, and he says the line at the end.
It base
This is
what I'd think of it as is it'd just be like this whole musical the entire time, and then at the end it's like, wow, I can't believe you performed that musical really well, Mr. Bond, and then the movie ends.
he came from like a musical background. He played Billy Elliot on stage.
Oh right, oh god, he would do that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, yeah, like that's why like he's so athletic. He came from like an athletic background.
Oh god. It would be kind of funny if he was in Challengers, because he'd just be this fucking tennis movie, and he's really athletic, and the whole movie is about fighting for
Oh,
this fucking girl.
I wasn't thinking of him being athletic on the tennis court. Hmm.
Oh, 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 athletic in that. Oh, yeah. From what I've seen on Twitter, he is
Look,
quite the athletic person.
look, all I'm saying is wood. That's all
Yeah.
I'll say. All I'll say. And the bit of him in bit when you lip sync battle to Chandelier, he all I'll say is he gives me Finster vibes. That's what I'll say.
I
But anyway, enough about Tom Holland.
that yeah.
But
Uh,
actually, like we were saying, like celebrities who are like fans or aware of Doctor Who. Like another one would actually be James Gunn, because like he only found
yeah.
Karen Gillan, who would be in the Guardians films because of Doctor Who. Like he said in an interview, I think it was like he saw Doctor Who and like he was like this is a good act. And even like funny enough, the guy who played the High Evolutionary was in Doctor Who, in an episode with her.
And that, oh my god.
But like it was like a bit hard. Like it was like in Series 6 as like a random agent.
Oh, I gotcha. Like,
But like a lot of actors have been in this show. Like a lot of actors,
yeah,
famous and unfamous. Like they've been in it. Like if you're British, you've been in it.
yeah. It's like the historical stuff and the actors. Like it's kind of just a staple of Doctor Who, which is probably the only thing that the third episode can really be mentioned for. I
I will say, the guy who they got to play Charles Dickens, Simon Cowell, not not Simon Cowell as in X Factor guy, Simon Cowell, like different pronunciation. Like he was a really good Charles Dickens. I haven't seen him in much, but he has a presence. He's a good choice for Charles Dickens.
oh,
And
definitely.
like and like and like the story of like I know seeing Charles Dickens at the end of his life and having a sort of Scrooge moment at the end when he like runs down the street saying Merry Christmas to everyone and like having revitalized and saying I'll go and see my family, write about this.
Yeah.
And then because Punch we find out that he died before he could write it. Like
Oh yeah, but that's kind of fucked up. The doctor was like, "Oh, you're at the end of your lifespan. You can't even write about this if you tried." Oh, that's really funny. I, I guess another thing you can mention about this episode is that it's kind of the first Christmas special, kind of. Uh,
yeah, actually, because like even as recently as like last Christmas, no, was not the episode last Christmas 2023. Like the official Doctor Twitter account like used it as like a festive episode, and it's unofficially the Ninth Doctor's Christmas. Like,
yeah, like
like every other special is like after the series and like an hour long and more it's sort of self-contained story, but like this is like mid that makes it more unique. It makes it more
yeah,
special.
because like there's the bad wolf reference in in the third episode. Like, it's just like, oh, the big bad wolf. And it, yeah, like it's kind of a unique thing for a Christmas special to be like, kind of like dropped in into like the third episode, which does make it more unique. However, is the
And
one
they
that I
didn't they
forget
didn't
about
know
most.
Yeah, they didn't know they were doing the Christmas specials until like I think it was a fair bit into production. I'm not sure what the got yet to finish RTG's book on it, which was The Writer's Tale, which I definitely recommend like reading that. Like it's him and another writer, Benjamin Cook, who like does all the Doctor Who stuff, like emailing all throughout 2007 to like 2009, like and like seeing his thought process. I definitely recommend that. Granted, there's a few bits that have really aged not well and don't paint them in a very good light.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
that
there's
is just
like um, let's just say there's an episode involving a writer, like for next year's a writer, and and famously this writer, one of the original titles, I think it was one of her books, was some 10 little inwards,
oh
and I mean,
oh
and they tried and work out a way to get that a joke about that title in there, and it's like, yikes. I mean,
y-
thankfully, I don't think like RTD's race is still transphobic or anything like that. Just
yeah
like it was 10 years ago, and also people fuck up.
yeah
It happens, and
yeah yeah people do make mistakes. It
yeah, but
it's part
yeah,
of
but
human
yeah, but
life.
I'd recommend that. Yeah, I'd recommend that. Even though isn't I'm a little annoyed with him because he acted dick over Christmas last year with one of the I think it was in the Christmas special last year. There was the singer of the Goblin song in that special, and like she was celebrating over like getting the song like the charts, and he
Mm,
like was snarkily correcting her and like kind of knocking her down, and everyone was the hell just celebrating, and
yeah
he really didn't help himself, and I'm still not over that. I don't quite like him, which is why I've not read it much because he annoyed me. But however, I'm rambling because it spent. But however, I'm not, should I stop? Should I stop?
uh I don't really mind. I mean you can talk about whatever you want. Like this is
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Doctor Who
like
after all.
yeah, that goes through RTG's thought process on like his final tenure. So like once we get to like that, once you get to that, I'd recommend picking that up both for audience and I'd recommend it. But
Yeah, I guess that's all there is to say about episode 3 since I can't. I mean there is zombies kind of like spirit
yeah, gas
zombies.
boost. Yeah, that's the thing. Like with the first few historicals or like the first few like up until recently, whenever they did something fantastical, it was always alien. It was always like in we're well within the realms of well, not well within the realm. Like it was explained by aliens and science. It was never like straight up ghosts or straight up werewolves. Like it's not a werewolf, it's a space wolf. It's not it's not Satan. It actually yeah, that was Satan.
Yeah, that.
Aside from that,
It, yeah, like I guess I guess we should talk about episode 4 and 5 since it's the Slovenes the Sl- the, Sl- the Slovenes. They make their first appearance, and my main note about them, like the first thing I wrote down, uh, for on my notes was fart monster. So, you know, I clearly have a lot to say about episode 4 and 5. The, the uh, or like even now I can't really like I finished rewatching the first season yesterday, and I still kind of can't remember much about episode 4 and 5. Remember more about Boomtown. Um, I think Boomtown is the one with this where the Slovene returns, right? Uh,
yeah, Boomtown is obviously because in the first Living two part, the whole family basically dies, but like one that survives, Margaret, she manages to like trans or beam away to Cardiff.
yeah, I I find the 11th episode a lot more interesting because it kind of delves into she's kind of tries to be cunning in a way with the doctor, where she's like, "Oh, I know your morals and everything. You'll have to help me out." Blah blah blah. Like it's I find it a lot more interesting because the episode 4 and 5 are just basically a bunch of fart jokes, slapped into one. It
Yeah, while also thrown in an Iraq War sort of allegory.
Yeah, that's true. Like they're like,
With
oh, World War Three.
what was it? That was like explicitly like they say they have nuclear arms and says massive weapons of destruction. That's how to describe it. When like in real life, it's weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, it's
It's like it's a not so subtle allegory on how the British government like reacted to the Iraq War of immediately being like nuke it.
yeah, it's just
At least
very
that's how I think it was. I'm not too familiar with that era, but that's what I've heard. It's like trying to be.
yeah, it's definitely very like it's very clearly an overt reference to like the Iraq War, and it's mentioning of like World War Two. I mean World War Three. I mean not World War Two. And it's like, oh, end of the world is coming, and I do like that. The one thing I do like about the episodes is I believe that's the one where they travel 12 months in the future instead of 12.
Yeah, because that's the thing with the show. Because like they always be like, oh, I can get back to it, but they never do. Like they always go to like it's always like a few days later. But it's like, what happens if the Doctor fucks up a time and he delivers them like a year in the future?
Yeah,
And he does exactly that. Instead of being like, oh, it's not 12 minutes. It's not 12 hours. It's 12 months.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
everyone thinks Rose is gone, like, dead, and like there's missing person posters up.
Yeah, that's like probably the most interesting aspect of episode 4, because it's like, what do people do when this happens? And like it's very clear. Like Jackie is like really worried about Rose, and she's like looking at it. It's like she's like, where have you been? It's been like 12 months. Are you okay? Where's my compensation? Are you okay though? It's, it's stuff like that. It makes the episode a lot more interesting. Not to say it's not interesting in the first place, because I do find alien slug monsters still pretty interesting, but that's probably the most memorable part of the episode. And I didn't even remember it was part of the fourth episode. I thought it was uh I thought it was like after the fifth episode. For the Dalek episode, they came back and they were like, "Oh, it, so to be fair, I didn't even remember it being part of the fourth episode. Um, well, I don't really know what else there is to mention about episode four and 5. Is there anything you'd like to note?
Um, I'm not sure because like, granted, a lot of it is due to like the political sort of allegory. Like
Yeah,
it's a very not so subtle jab at like the government. Like it literally takes place in Down Street. Like
it it
it does introduce Harriet Jones. Like that's the main thing. It introduces Harriet Jones, MP for Fladonoff.
oh yeah, that's right. Harriet Jones is like the kind of thing, and then for the Christmas special, uh,
Like they say at the end of the part of that, she goes on to introduce England's golden age,
oh
and
yeah,
then the Doctor's first act as the 10th Doctor is to basically stop that from happening. Like he
yeah,
changes history. Like he changes history just because he was thrown. Just because he threw a fit, like as a power move.
yeah. Like to Harriet Jones, it's kind of
Like
the make
and like
England
I'm
great
not sure if you
again.
know. I'm not sure if you noticed in the actual episode, but like him doing that, what made the way through for the villain of series 3 to take power.
Oh,
Because there was a gap in like the political scheme.
Oh, oh, that makes so much more sense now. Oh,
Like they even mentioned Down Street was just rebuilt in the finale.
that's really cool. I
Like you see, it makes sense. You don't just have the Prime Minister of England and who was prophesied to bring a golden age, and then not do anything when like you make a point of being like that golden age isn't gonna happen anymore. Now it's gonna be now this madman takes over.
yeah, now the Joker is basically Prime Minister. I mean, it's not like I mean, it's pretty accurate to England, I suppose, because it's
And it's pretty accurate to real life, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it
But yeah, that's one of the biggest plot points of the episode
yeah
that Harriet Jones introduced, and she's got some more to play. I should say, like this whole podcast is just gonna be me teasing series four to Rob.
yeah
Like 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 Harriet Jones still has some part to play in the coming series, is what I'll say.
yeah. Like I like this, the the I can see what they were trying to do with the fourth and fifth episode. It kind of gets overshadowed by most of the fart jokes though, because it's like
Yeah, like it's like you kept what they're going for. Like it was a case of like trying to fit in the human bodies would kind of create some sort of gas, and that's what signifies it. But also like having it only be that it's fat people who are the bad guys. It's like, hmm,
it's definitely that out like another thing of like outdated sort
it's
of
like
like
outdated. Like if it was done today, it would be like done a bit different. Is what I'd say. I don't think the episodes are bad. Like I don't think that. No,
yeah
like I know we're not exactly being favorable to them.
yeah
It's just,
it it, it,
it's
it
just,
there's not
yeah.
too much to talk about in terms of episode 4 and 5. Like I do enjoy those episodes, and I did have a lot of fun still on rewatch. However, I just don't think there's too much to talk about in terms of just there's not much to really chew on in terms of I guess just content or like I don't want to say substance because there is some substance in this episode. It's just yeah
Mm,
it I oh,
what
although
else? What else? Well, I guess one sort of potential thing is that the scene with the pig in the first part was Eccleston's first scene as the Doctor, like the first bit he filmed.
oh that is pretty cool. I do kind of like that. That that's a neat little bit of trivia to like remember when rewatching like series one. I probably won't be rewatching series one for a little bit because I've already just rewatched it. But if I do rewatch it anytime soon, I'm definitely going to like remember that piece of trivia because I it's kind of cool seeing actors' first scenes and things. It it kind of makes you look at the scenes where they're first introduced, like the actual first scene, a lot more differently. Um, because you're like, oh, this is what this is how they're different and compared to like most of the show now. Like I suppose that's it. Like I suppose we should talk about like the best episode in the season. Uh,
Wait, was Dalek after this two-parter?
I believe so. Let me check. I'm pretty certain that it was, but I could be wrong. I did skip over episode 3 by accident. Yeah, it is after World. It's
Right,
Aliens
yeah.
of London. Yeah. So,
So Dalek is easily like still one of the best episodes of the show. Just bar none. Like it is a practically perfect freaking episode.
yeah, I'd honestly agree with that. Like there's a lot to talk about in terms of this episode. Like Henry Van Staten is basically Elon Musk this episode. Like it's like they kind of made an allegory for Elon Musk before Elon Musk started doing Elon Musk things. It,
Yeah, like he's just sort of like he's meant to be like this sort of like this general snooty billionaire who thinks they're so important and the greatest person to ever do anything. Because like he owns the internet, and I'm fairly certain like I think the novelization like retcons that like owns the part of the internet that's in that area.
oh
Like
yeah.
because like this was written in 2005 and it's set 2012, so like you don't know quite what the future is going to be like, and considering the show would still be going in 2012, it's like you have to like it's not going to get everything right, but like he's still a snooty bastard. Like he's especially the bit where like he's and it's when tells everyone to laugh at his jokes. Like when they say they have an intruder, and he says, "How do they get in? In through the window?" And laugh.
It's kind of like like it's very much like them trying to be like a. They think they're so cool when in reality they aren't. Like it's kind of like them trying to pull off like a Tony Stark type thing where it's like, oh,
Yeah, I guess.
I'm so cool, I'm so
And
badass.
this was even before that.
Yeah, so he is kind as like Snyder fans would say, he is the blueprint for
Yeah,
just complete asshole billionaires. It's
and unlike real life, he actually gets his comeuppance.
yeah, oh, he kind of does actually.
Like he
Unlike
gets
a
his mind wiped and he gets his mind wiped and dumped on the street.
yeah, uh, it's kind of a happy ending actually, instead of them continuing to do bad shit for the rest of eternity. Because we kind of
Yeah,
need a
and
doctor. Like, if we had a real life doctor, we'd just have most billionaires out on the street.
well, in most of the cases, yeah, there's like the Doctor's very anti-capitalist, except for the one episode that we won't mention in series 11, which is 10 series from now. So that's a way away.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for the most part, the Doctor's anti-capitalist.
yeah, yeah. For the most part, so sometimes this regeneration thing it causes him to get a little bit of screws loose.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
because.
yeah, like
Well, and of course, there's the big thing, which for this episode, Dalek, which is the Dalek.
yeah. If you yeah, surprisingly, I had. It's kind of like the Cyberman reveal where it's like that would be such a cool reveal.
But it's in the name.
Yeah,
Like that's the reoccurring. Well, actually, it's the reoccurring thing, except for once in this show where like the Daleks are just in the title and in the titles and the names in the title sequence, and it takes away any and all build up.
yeah. I believe the only time they aren't mentioned is the season 1 finale where they just kind of show up. Uh,
Yeah, like yeah, that's for one time. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and the rest it's like Daleks in Manhattan, Dalek this, Dalek that. I do kind of appreciate though how much they've revitalized the Daleks because back in Old Who, like they were really serious at first. They're like these intimidating threats, and then they kind of became a laughing stock after a long after like the Old Who ended. Like they weren't really. I would say they were kind of regarded as a bit silly, but here they really managed to make them an intimidating threat this episode. Like the like one Dalek is such a big problem for everyone. It like wipes out pretty much the entire military and holds Rose hostage basically. So it's the Daleks are no joke. They're quite an intimidating force, and the Doctor has to do like all kinds of shit to try and combat the Dalek. It's it's such I do like how they reintroduce the Dalek again. However, the the seriousness of the Daleks won't be there for long. I mean, the season 3 series, I think it's series 3, or is it series 2?
Yeah,
Would
the series 3 episodes were like with the pigs and
Yeah,
all that.
just Daleks in Manhattan, where it's like,
Where the most memorable bit about two parts is, well, there's a few memorable bits. There's is Andrew Garfield. That's obvious. There's fucking Captain Panaka from Star Wars being in it,
yeah, and they tried to make like
and
what, a sky beam or something to like take over the world or
yeah,
whatever.
a sky beam on the Empire State Building.
Yeah, that
And the main memorable bit about the episode was the women in the 1920s showgirl outfits.
that's true. That is like one of the main memorable parts, like that were like me and
I'm a simple girl, alright? I see women in them outfits and my mind goes big.
I I don't blame you for that. Like, it, to be fair, the Daleks, they don't change too much. It's just the intimidation factor of them kind of gets lost a little bit more each series.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, they kind of. There's a well, this and like one of the stories where they really peak for me. Like after RTD leaves, they do not get any better. Like they are done dirty. They've been done dirty for like 10 years. Well, not even 10 years, like 14 years. They've been done dirty.
yeah, because like I've heard like Daleks are such like a staple in Doctor Who, and then I just like see some of the episode ratings for like future Dalek episodes, and it's just kind of like, oh.
Yeah, like in series 7, which was the Asylum of the Daleks. Like first off, why does the Daleks have an asylum? They're space Nazis. If they hate everything that isn't them, and
Like,
if a Dalek is impure, they just kill it.
it is kind of weird because usually, like, if a Dalek turns into like somewhat of a human, they just usually kill the Dalek or overthrow it. I don't know why they have an asylum for da-
Yeah, like, and it's just
that. As
people
this,
say like most of like the New Year's specials the past few years have all been Dalek centered, and a lot of people like to say that that Chibnall knows how to write the Daleks, and all I'll say is he fucking doesn't. Like he cannot write the Daleks. Like he's like the Daleks in those episodes are not good, like at all. Like a lot of people smoking.
yeah, I guess we'll get to them when we get to them, but I don't really have
We'll
high
get to
hopes for future Dalek storylines. I
yeah. There's a couple. There's one that I'd say is good, but after this, but eh, just nah.
it's
But in terms of like this episode, it's like fuck, it's good.
I would say it's very good. The the relationship as well, um like between the Dalek and the Doctor is so interesting because it's immediately like marked with like so much tension between the two. And if you haven't seen Old Who, you're just like, what's going on here? Why they like hate each other so much? And you slowly learn throughout like the episode, and pretty quickly, that they're like basically they're mortal enemies. um I I they're they're just incredibly intimidating, and they're like their first appearance is literally them looked up with chains, and like it look
Yeah,
it's
like a sort of Frankenstein's monster. Like they're all
yeah,
battered and beaten.
yeah, exactly. It kind of reminds me of like a it gives me vibes of like from the first Kung Fu Panda movie where Tai Lung is fucking tied
Oh
up.
yeah, like
It's, it kind of reminds me of that, where it's like, oh fuck, I don't. It's, it's kind of terrifying, and the it's definitely it gives a big nuanced dynamic between the Doctor and the Dalek because they, but despite their like apathy towards each other, they do eventually share like kind of a mutual, a very hesitant understanding near the end of the episode.
Yeah, like like the Doctor realizes he's become like a Dalek and to murder it and like in this very blind rage, holding a great big fucking gun and like is like and Rose even points out like who's the Dalek? You or him?
Yeah, it's like like the Daleks are obviously extremely evil, but this, like, since this has changed its ways.
This since this is like the Doctor's first like experience with the Daleks since the Time War. And like
Yeah,
of course it's like he's gonna be so charged, like
yeah, he's gonna be
and well I
emotional.
mean well that's summed up when he looks dead into a Dalek's eyes and says it should kill itself.
It it does a low tier god thing where it just, he's just, you should kill yourself now. It's
Yeah.
it
Like like he loses it, like the whole rant he has about it and he's the
yeah.
only Dalek in the universe left and point like to follow orders and he's like rid the universe of your filth. Why don't you just die?
It definitely has that that moral ambiguity where it's like, yes, these villains, they've turned, like, this villain has turned good, but despite that, they've caused so much pain and agony that, do they even deserve to be let off with like a chance to be good, or should just like
Yeah,
kill them anyway? It
yeah. And like even by the end, it's not like they really want to be good. It's like they have all these human emotions, and it's like it's too much. I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah, exactly. They cannot comprehend it. It's actually quite sad in a way, because the Daleks only know one thing, which is to just kill.
Hate.
Yeah, they kill and they hate, and they have all this fucking
Yeah,
rage
because
in them.
yeah, there's a silly freaking retcon in series 9 where they where it's retconned that scenes where like someone one of a companion is put in like a Dalek suit in like a case and anything that sounds remotely loving like I love or or like something that isn't hate just translates to exterminate.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because like I kind of feel for the Daleks in a way, but I also kind of don't. It's a very interesting way of establishing your villain, where this is the last of their kind, and for the first time they start to feel genuine human feelings. They actually understand for the first time, and they can't comprehend at the point where they just want to die. Uh, because I believe they'd get like so overwhelmed by everything that they've done, like all the fucking the terrible things that they've done to like multiple planets, the Doctor's home planet. Like they imagine feeling that emotion for the first time. You definitely, like, I don't think like any being would be able to comprehend that. It They do it in such an quite a great way, uh, where it's just a great episode overall. Uh,
Mm.
because like it's definitely it, there's definitely like some parallels to draw, especially between like this Elon Musk motherfucker and the Daleks. Um, like this, like who's really the evil one here? Uh,
Yeah.
a spirit. And like you said before, like it gets compared with Daleks, um, where it's like who is actually the real Dalek. It
Yeah,
it's
like when Nine has his speech about how the Dalek should die and like how like you know having this really angry rant at it just looks at him and says you would make a good
Mm,
Like that's gotta fucking sting.
that would hurt a lot. Like that's kind of why. Like when I first saw it, or when I first watched the episode, I didn't really understand just how great this episode was. Like I was like, yeah, this is a really good episode. But I wasn't completely sure if it was like one of my favorites. On rewatch, there's like so much shit to gather from that episode where it's just like, yeah, it is one of, if not the best Doctor Who episode. Ma- just mainly because not only is it such a big task to bring back the Daleks, make them intimidating, but also to make a just a brilliant storyline out of them. And unfortunately, it was never topped again. they, they,
Yeah,
that they did it so well that they reached the peak of it, and it's kind of sad to see. I hope in the new series with Shooty, if they do plan on bringing back the Daleks, I really hope that they use them well, because
yeah.
the
I
Daleks
mean, I
deserve
don't
some
want
love.
them to be. I don't want Bugs to be back for like a series or two. Like at
Yeah,
least Shooty's third series. That's
because
what I hope.
from what
Like,
I've heard, the Daleks are pretty overused in late New Who.
oh yeah, they've been like because they were in all the New Year specials and also in Flux and also Geordie's last episode and in practically every series due to what I think is a contractual was a I think what was a myth, a contractual obligation with the Terry Nation estate, who Terry Nation created Daleks, and like he wanted to really franchise. The BBC has to like license them to use them,
Yeah, it
and like so like because of that, but and so they've been used a lot, but a lot of the time like it's just really mediocre.
yeah it's kind of it's kind of sad, because like the Daleks are kind of a staple for Doctor Who, and to see where they are now, it's kind of unfortunate actually, because there's so much potential for a good Dalek storyline, um, but it just seems like they haven't been able to grasp, like, capture that lightning in a bottle, um, like, type energy in a while. I hope they manage to do it for Shooty, but it's like you said, rather have it for like series two at least, rather than, I don't know, the first series.
Yeah, same with the Master. Like, just don't use them for a while. Keep them parked. Like that's
Yeah,
what RTD said. Like focus on other lesser known monsters and characters, and not the ones that's just been like the go-to guys for 15 years.
yeah. The, I, this there's so much. I've just realized that there's so much to talk about this show. I, we, we've been going for nearly 2 hours, and we're like halfway. The like nearly 2 hours at least. I I um I guess we could do like two things. We could either like split this into two parts, or we could like try and cover it all in one. Uh, it really depends on you and how you're feeling, because I know it is
Um,
a little late for you.
it's just ticked over midnight, but how many episodes have we got left?
We've got like 7.
That's half a series.
we we do have quite a bit, and most of it is pretty big shit. Like we've got Father's Day and the Empty Child.
Yeah, like oh god, yeah, that's the heavy hitters of the series. So
Yeah, like we've
I
been.
think it's probably best to like split in half. Like we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
if we release this part tomorrow, like on Saturday the 5th,
yeah,
and then we release the second part on the week afterwards.
yeah.
Like,
It would kind of
and
actually
then
be
that'll be
fitting.
like, yeah, because like it'd be banking on that. on that new series hype.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's crazy how much we had to say for only like 6 episodes. Like, I, I didn't expect us to be able to go this long, but we're both
Yeah,
very passionate about the show, and I think it's very clear that we 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 have a
yeah,
lot of energy going into it.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Plus, we should say we're still trying to figure out what we want the runtime of the average
yeah,
EHR episode should be.
the E air, it's
EATR,
yeah,
because
it's
like that's what like because like saying Evie and the robot like just type that is really
yeah it
it's like I just it's funny. It's like it's ended up like EFAP, Eco, and 8 hours. It's like another E podcast.
we're trying we can't escape the E at the beginning. It's just impossible. And if we tried
Yeah,
doing it robot and the Eevee, it just sounds really weird.
yeah. It's like Evie and the robot sounds
Yeah,
really cute, but also, as someone pointed out,
yeah,
it's also the exact premise of Wally.
exactly. Yeah, it's well, it was a big missed opportunity to like we should have had the text as like a like kind of Wally like themed stuff.
I like it. The person that we hired to
Who
hire
hired?
stuff. We
Yeah,
don't we
the,
don't pay them shit.
yeah,
But
this
the person that we got to do the layout and the logo and that, I don't know. They agreed that they agreed with my initial concept of it looking a little bit
yeah I
looking cutesy. It's been sounding cutesy. It's like what because I want it to be chill. I don't want it to be blocky and
yeah
textish. You know.
yeah it is a very like like the especially like the ambiance like the pinkish and reddish of it all it kind of fits the vibe of what we're going
Yeah.
for. So I
Mm. Plus the thumbnail I've set out for this episode really looks like
oh
I'll put it in chat right now because I haven't
yeah
shown you yet.
oh yeah
But
I mean
just
I
don't put it on don't put it on yet. But
yeah
like
yeah it'd be a yeah I oh that is really cool. Oh, I like that. Yeah, yeah, I suppose we'll have to find a way to end off this episode.
yeah, like I guess well I don't think we should do the thing where one of us ends it and opens it like that'd get too confusing. You know,
Yeah,
like it's just
yeah. No, no, it's your turn to end it. No,
I guess like what we should say is like we thought we could do the entire series
yeah,
in one episode.
yeah. It
Evidently not. Like we don't want to go too late. Like I'm trying to keep my sleep schedule not totally fucked.
yeah. I my sleep schedule has
Like
just been
if we go for another hour at most, we will get 2/3 of the way through the series, and like at
yeah.
that point, that mean
I'm
we could do a whole stream or a whole episode about a third of a series. At like
yeah. And even then, I don't know how much we'd be able to cover because like there's Father's Day, there's the one with Simon Pegg in the next episode. There's so much to cover.
and that's not even mentioning if we're gonna include Christmas Invasion. And that's since I count that as like the
That's
prologue
true.
to series one.
Yeah, that is true. Shit. We have a lot to cover. Um,
Yeah, so it's probably smarter to just leave it off here and like just
yeah,
carry on next time, which
yeah,
we'll probably record it within the coming week.
yeah. Exactly. Like we're still trying to figure out whether or not this will be like a
Yeah,
recording thing or a streaming thing.
this is still early days. Like we will try a stream at some point, be it like for something
Yeah,
or like just to test for waters, you know.
yeah. Exactly. Like I the only thing I'm worried about streaming is like sometimes my internet does weird things and it's like but it's very rarely that it does that. It does it like once every month that it decides to be a bit weird. So, but overall, it's okay. But you know, I feel like recording these episodes pretty pretty. I'm pretty like comfortable. I feel like we're getting a lot more confident in like talking about what we want to talk about because the first
Mhm.
episode we're kind of like a little bit awkward, but after the
Yeah, because
first
like
episode,
we we just started on the first episode. We're just trying to figure out what to do, how to format it, and all that. So
yeah, it was
by the
actually
time like episode 3, episode 4,
well,
we'll be we'll be pros. And
yeah.
I say that, but when we did Ecom 4 episodes in, we were still fucking shite.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still, like, I'm quite happy with where we are right now because, like, before, because the first time we tried doing this, like, we were kind of like a mess because we are trying to get like everything figured out. Now it's like a lot more chilled. We're just like kind of having like this. It is what it is what we said it would be. It's just a normal conversation about Doctor Who. Uh,
Yeah, like, and sometimes you can't finish a normal conversation. You have to pick it up at a later date.
Yeah, that's the issue with our conversation. Sometimes if we talk about something, then we talk about it for a long fucking time. And Doctor Who, since it's like very special to you, and it's like becoming very special to me. Of course, like
It's like we tend to ramble and and we're only halfway through the series, and like
yeah, that
if it's taken us 2 hours to do this, and we have all the heavy hitter episodes
it's gonna take us
next,
longer.
we'll be up until like 3 a.m. my time, which
Yeah,
would not be great.
yeah. Second part might be a bit longer, so I guess we should record this earlier. Uh,
Yeah, we'll record it at like 9ish, 9:30ish, yeah,
yeah.
my time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. For
Yeah, because for the people who like don't know, Robot is from New Zealand. I'm from the UK, so like we
yeah,
gotta work around the time.
yeah, exactly. It's a little weird thing. But yeah, time zones are just like that. Thank God it is not a it is not a time zone where it's like when I wake up, it's like 3 a.m. for you, it, and in the afternoon it's gonna be like too late. I'm so glad that like while the time zones are a bit fucked, they're like still manageable.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah. Well, I guess since like, well, I guess this means we now know what our third episode will be,
yeah, I mean we don't have to like really plan it because we do have like a
because
lot of
we
things.
we do have a lot of plans. Like, I guess we
Yeah,
should lay.
yeah,
These aren't guarantees. These aren't guarantees. We will just say like, well, we have a few ideas. We're gonna do like a Doctor Who one for every, although that might end up being two episodes depending on how long we go. And there's a few of us. We're thinking of like a lot of the early ones. We want to do a sex education one since we're big fans of that, and also Shooty, which
yeah,
will hopefully connect that. And we might be bringing Sky on. Like, she said
yeah,
yes, so that could be a date. Good
yeah,
football.
exactly. And like next month, like I think like House of the Dragon's coming out. So
Yeah, and House of the Dragon, that's definitely coming on because like
yeah,
a lot of our a lot of our watch togethers end up just rambling about Game of Thrones.
yeah,
Even
exactly.
it's specifically me ranting about Series 8 because he hasn't seen it.
Yeah, I gave up like because I finished season 4 and I was like, wow, season 4, this is fucking great. I cannot wait to start season 5. But because season 4 was just that good and I heard it didn't get kind of bad until season 7, so I'm like, let's do this. Let's go. I did hear season 5 was a bit of a downwards in quality, but I was like, whatever. It shouldn't be too much. The first episode I was like, oh fuck, I can already tell that this is like a decline in quality. Like I barely managed to get through season 5 and it's like you have 3 more seasons left and I'm just like do I want to
Uh, like like that's so definitely House of the Dragon also because well, we're so concerned like when it comes to digital, we're definitely gonna do an episode about Godzilla.
Oh yeah.
Like Godzilla minus one, the original film and Shin Godzilla. Like that,
Yeah.
like because because it's very much in the limelight with the new Empire out and minus
Yeah.
one,
Oh,
but that'll take a while to come to digital. So we'll do that at a later date. And one episode that I really want, of course, is Superman Lois.
yeah.
We'll do that when Series 4 comes out, and I'm actually really worried about it
It,
because I tweeted out just before we went live is that the budget has been really cut back, and a lot of the cast is going to be gone. And it's Sex
oh.
Education season 4 all over again.
Oh no. Oh god. We're gonna have to. Oh, it's gonna have to be the. This is gonna be the final season of Superman and Lois, and it's not. Oh, it's not gonna go well, is it? It's.
Yeah, I really hope so because so far the show is basically Daredevil. Like first series really solid, like great. Series 2 is still good in a
Yeah.
lot of areas, but a lot of other areas it's shit,
Yeah.
shit.
The, yeah.
And then series 3 is just peak,
Yeah.
like fucking perfect.
Yeah. It's like I like season 1 and 2. I mean, season 2 of Daredevil. Like I feel like people give it way too much crap. Where it's like, oh, season two's kind of mid. There's there's a lot of good elements to season 2, especially the first 4 episodes. With
Yeah, it's just the handship,
it's yeah, it's just mainly the
everything with the
hands.
hand, and setting up the defenders, which goes nowhere because defenders was mid. Apparently, it's just fine, Blair.
Yeah,
And
I saw the Defenders wasn't great.
it's like at least with Doctor Who, when it sets up or ties in with stuff with the spin-offs, it at least actually feels satisfying to watch
Yeah,
just the main show.
the
Whereas with Daredevil, like this just season 2 was just a blip. It's
yeah
just a weird blip for half of it.
yeah the weird thing about Defenders is that they brought back the cinematographers for every character of the show. So basically, Iron Fist would have the cinematographers for Iron Fist. Daredevil would have the cinematographers for Daredevil. So every scene with Daredevil in it would had this masterful cinematography, and then it'll go to Iron Fist, and it's like this kind of cinematography. It's very jarring when you're watching it, and
Yeah.
it's just like, ugh.
It's like it's because I just about Superman or season 3 today, and it's like it's funny because there's a storyline which very much would require Lois's sister from series 2 showing up. But I'm kind of glad that she didn't because she was a really fucking annoying character.
Yeah, the
Like her whole plot line in the second series is like, and the villain of that series is like the hand of it all.
oh
Like there's very good stuff in series 2 of Spanos. Like it involves Bizarro and that. It's really interesting. The the parallel world stuff. And there's an episode where like jump from protagonist to protagonist in this parallel world. And it's really cool. And then there's the villain, who is just the most boring thing ever.
yeah, it sounds like the character stuff in Superman and Lois amazing, and then it's
Oh yeah,
just the
like
villain.
series 3 in particular, fantastic. Like actually fantastic. Like I mentioned it in like my review on Twitter, but like it really emphasized the and Lois part of the title. Like it is so good. Like and it's like I need series 4 and I need James Gunn's film like now.
Oh yeah, like I, I just really I can't wait to get into Superman shit. I feel like we should be able to do Superman. Like, when is series 4 of Superman and Lois coming out? Like, it's
It says fall this year, so I assume like
oh yeah,
August-ish. Oh,
yeah. Like, this year seems to be the year of Superman. Like I said, like Superman the animated series, Superman and Lois, Superman Legacy coming out next year. It, and then we'll be doing a Superman and Lois thing for this year. Everything's just gonna be Superman. It, I feel like I'm gonna become a Superman mega fan by the end of all of it. But
it the show's made me a fan. Like I actually want to like it makes me want to like All Star Superman or something. Like it's just I actually want to get into it instead of spending 10 years instead of spending so long obsessing over Snyder's miserable deconstruction.
Yeah, because like, well, Snyder's thing is like a different adaptation of Superman. It doesn't.
It's also an adaptation that's severely set the character back by a decade.
Yeah, it where everyone says that the character is really fucking boring, and that's what people thought Superman just was, just like a really boring character.
We'll see. It's funny because one of the things that movie had off was Injustice, just like another pain bad Superman deconstruction with Superman but a fascist,
Oh yeah, the
and
evil
he's all
Superman.
one sheet.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in Superman and Lois, Jonathan and Jordan, Superman's sons, are seen playing Injustice 2. So like, I assume it's like it's a fighting game just in that world, but like it's funny. Like one of the best canonically has one of the worst exist within its world.
It's
Like that is funny.
I I kind of hate seeing how evil Superman has evolved because now it's just in so many pieces of media. Mainly The Boys. The Boys is the one that's fucking doing evil
Uh,
Superman.
like I haven't seen the boys. Like it doesn't it doesn't look like my scene. And plus like from what I've heard from like Jeb and Sky, like it's gone on for too long.
It really
Just-
has. The first season I would say is like really good. The second season is pretty bad, and the third season is the worst one. And now they're making a fourth one.
It's just the only thing that really gripped me is the one scene I've seen from season one, which is the scene where Butcher beats the invisible guy while London. Anytime
Ah,
the clash is anytime the clash is used, be like he. But
y-
after that, I don't care.
yeah. It like I would purely recommend r- only watching season one of The Boys and then just like giving up there because it kind of ends all right.
Yet another series where like series one is the best, and you just ignore the rest.
Yeah,
True
just
Detective, True Detective, Westworld, and The Boys.
yeah. It's truly the unholy trilogy where all those series great seasons of television. Just ignore the rest and you'll be okay. It,
And fun enough, if you throw in Game of Thrones, three of them are HBO shows.
exactly, it is kind of weird how it works because HBO has been regarded as like oh it's peak TV, but sometimes they're the bad seasons go under the radar, like Westworld or True Detective, which has kind of been forgotten. Most people only remember a True Detective because of season one, and
Yeah, like when James Gunn announced that the Lanterns TV show is going to be inspired by True Detective, I don't think anyone was thinking of
yeah,
season three.
yeah, no, I don't think anyone's thinking of fucking True Detective like New Country or whatever. They're probably thinking
Night Country, it's called. Which,
Night
funny
Country.
enough, stars Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, the anyone who's interested in uh the Ninth Doctor, don't watch Night Country unless you want to see him in there.
Yeah. Don't watch it unless you want to see him have a sex scene with Jodie Foster.
You know what? You know what? Maybe everyone should watch Night Country. That sounds.
Oh, you bastard! Look, 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 look. If you want to see Christopher Eccleston's Ecclestones, then sure, watch it.
Does it actually go like full like?
Oh no. The most you see is his ass.
Fuck! Fuck!
When was it?
God damn it! We were this close. We were this close
But
to
also
greatness.
he also does an American accent in the show,
Fucking traitor.
and it's very inconsistent. Like he sounds like he's from Texas, then one episode he sounds like he's from New York.
So it's like TASM Peter Parker, where he's it's
Yeah,
one clip of
like in that one scene where he's like, one Spider-Man or woman, we don't know
for
for
sure,
sure.
for sure.
But like I even said like when we were watching it, like that like with that accent, he is not a Christopher, he is a John.
Oh yeah, it but yeah, yeah. So oh shit! I just holy shit! I'm just realizing we've been going on like a whole tirade about
About True Detective, yeah. Like,
yeah,
we're not here about Doctor Who. We're here to just ramble and stuff about stuff. Like,
yeah, exactly.
well, it's part of the fun. But like, these are some of the episodes. Like, so we mentioned Sex Education, Godzilla, True Detective, House of the Dragon.
Yeah,
What else? Some man those.
yeah,
What else?
and p-
And plenty more. We've got
yeah,
a lot of ideas.
yeah. We've got a lot of ideas. Like these are ones that are most likely coming very soon. Uh, but I, I don't think we'll have
Well,
to worry about
we,
that
we
for now.
also have we also have Succession. We've been
Yeah,
watching that after watching Doctor Who, and we finished season one, so we're on to season two of that. But
yeah,
chances are we'll just break down the whole show or something, or we'll go one stream at a time.
yeah. Like the
Considering we're only going one episode at a time with that, probably just probably best to just wait a bit, you know.
yeah. There, the reason why it takes so long to kind of break down Doctor Who is because there's a lot of Doctor Who and there's a lot to like talk about and uh like regarding to Doctor Who because there's old Who and now there's new Who, so there's a lot of stuff to like talk about. So when we talk about one episode, it's like, oh, but this kind of ties into these other episodes, and it it's all it, it's all a big thing. That's just I mean that's just kind of Doctor Who. It just ties into it just one thing ties into the other. At least that's what I'm up to so far. We're not until we get to the Chibnall era where things tie into things and it doesn't make sense.
Mm, yeah, like yeah, and that's why because you can just ramble a lot about Doctor Who, like especially nowadays. There's a there's, there's a lot of hype going on, like and like you're you can actually be hyped about the show again.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. We're no longer in the Dark Ages. Hopefully, we will have hope when Shooty's its era drops. I'm hoping that it doesn't like get as bad as the Chibnall era, but I doubt it because aren't they bringing back like a lot of things from like the earlier series of Doctor Who, New Who?
well, for instance, Moffat is coming back.
Mm. Yeah, that gives me a lot more hope than just just Chibnall coming back for the new
Yeah,
show.
I don't think he'll come back for a while. With Moffat, it's been 7 years since he wrote for Doctor Who. But with Chibnall, I don't think he'll want to come back, especially when like he was really not liked.
Yeah,
And granted, he could be different into RTD, like he could be, but like still, I wouldn't want him back just at all. No disrespect to him, like he's a nice guy,
yeah,
he seems a nice fella, but he's my least favorite Doctor Who writer.
yeah.
Okay, that's a lie. Gareth Roberts is below him.
Oh, yeah.
Because
That's true.
Gareth Roberts and Helen Rayner, like they're below him, but purely because of how transphobic they are.
Yeah, that.
As people they suck more, but as a writer, he sucks.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, I guess that's a uh, happy note to leave it off. Like
Yeah,
like yeah, see, the first season will be coming up next week. So it's kind of a good note to leave it off being split into two parts because there's just so much to talk about. Um,
yeah. There's so much to talk about, especially season one, which is like jam packed full of bangers.
oh
Like
yeah,
so.
it, I'm sure like regarding like certain seasons, run times will be
Yeah, like
shorter.
some season, like for instance, next season there'll be a lot less to talk about, really.
Yeah, because it's a little goofier. It I'm sure we'll still be able to go for like 2 hours talking about it, but in regards to like season two, there's like stuff like Love and Monsters that
Yeah, like yeah, like but granted we can skip over some stuff, but like we can breeze through them. Like we're
yeah,
still working things out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so how do we want to end this? Like
I guess I'm not sure. Like, how did we end the first one?
I kind of forgot as well. I guess we'll end it off with like a thank you, everyone, if you've made it this far. And if
We'll we'll try to upload a bit more consistently, considering it's been like a month since the last episode. But
yeah, yeah, like yeah, just we're not giving up. We're still going strong. We're both really passionate about this, and
it's just it's just a case of like trying to schedule episodes and trying to work out what
yeah,
you know.
it's mainly what we want to talk about because it's like what the fuck do we talk about this thing or
We're not
that?
going to arbitrarily talk about something, for instance. We're not going to talk about whatever's popular. We're just going to talk about
Yeah,
whatever we want.
yeah, exactly. Like we've got like we once talked about like fucking like talking about Edgar Wright films, so it's we're not going to be talking about whatever's popular. It's just going to be whatever we want to talk about. Like sometimes we'll be talking about Doctor Who, because we're going through it like series by series. Um, so yeah, if you enjoyed, then stay tuned for next week where we'll be talking about the real heavy hitters in Doctor Who. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah,
yeah.
like
That should be everything. Just next week, over half of series two,
yeah.
series one. Mistake.
Yeah, we're jumping a bit ahead. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll see you all for next week where we'll be talking about series one even more. All right,
Yeah.
bye bye.
Bye bye.